Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket queens. Here we have two limpers. And then against us. First guy, I've got 10 hands on him. He's 40% VPIP, 4 out of 10 he's played. I just set him up kind of like a basic, just limping range. He's in first position under the gun. Maybe it's going to be a little bit tighter. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is just a standard raise. I did take out queens plus ace king. I assume players are going to raise with that. Would have raised with those first in. Second guy also kind of has big range. And when I looked at his notes, I recognized that this guy played, was in one of our hands in the last few days. So when we do look at his limp and call to raise, he has kings in there. So what I did was set up kings plus ace king is like 50%. So 50% of the times he'll raise, 50% of the times he'll limp. And then I gave him, your suited connectors, suited one gappers, two gappers, your suited aces, your suited kings, Broadway cards, offsuit connectors, just to kind of get it a larger range that he's going to be limping with. When it gets to us, we've got our ISO raise range, which is fairly big, and I think this is going to be standard because I think both this player especially is going to be loose. Will be in position throughout the hand. Should be easier to play against them. So I raised to 5, maybe a little small. Maybe I could have gone to 6, or I should have gone to 6. But I still ISO raised, and I think that's the play. Now it folds around. So under the gun player just goes ahead and folds around on this guy, who then makes the call. So I am going to take out these 2 gappers and probably the suited 3 gappers just to tighten it up a little bit. Still think he's going to be heavy on like the ace-x type hands. So flop comes down king 2-2. Not really what we want to see for our hand. However, I think villain's going to have like other hands that miss. I think we should probably stay aggressive with the hand. So villain 5 checks to us. I think this is probably a hand where we can continue betting. Would be standard. Our standard would be to bet. So he checks. I think he checks 100% of his range. I think our standard here is to bet. But at the same time, when we think about the board and stuff, I think we're either way ahead or way behind. If he catches the king, he is going to be way ahead. If he didn't catch a king, then I think we're going to be way ahead there, because it's basically he would be drawing to an ace at this point to beat us. I think when we think about hands to bet, we don't really have any straight or flush draw potential. So if we look at our betting range, we're looking at top pair plus, and then when you think about what else can we bet, it would probably be our backdoor straight potential. 2 cards that have the backdoor straight, that gives us 41.6. I think that kind of leaves these lower pocket pairs, ace high type hands to check behind, which I think is a little too... I don't think we have enough. Let's just change that. That gets us to 80, and then we've got all these other hands that, like the hearts, that don't have any sort of backdoor draw potential. Versus this player, though, we do have to consider that he's out of position. He's probably not going to fold here. He's going to be calling us. So, because of that, if we check, I think it's okay. It's checking to keep the pot on the smaller side. We're trying not to build it up, because if we bet, we're going to probably have to fire out that turn, because if we don't, then he's going to probably lead into us on the river, and it's going to be a bigger pot. So right now, pot pot's 12. If we bet 6 and he calls, now we're at 24. We check behind, and then I would probably face like a 20 to 24 big blind bet. I'm not opposed to checking on a board like this because on this board, again, it's more likely that he missed. When we just look at his top pair hand, it's only 16%. That means, let's round up to say 80% of the time he's not going to have that top pair. So I'm not terribly. I understand why we do it. I understand why we check here. But I think exploitatively we should have bet. We should have bet. So I'm gonna plan as if we did check behind here. We're gonna do that. Let's X out our hands. There we go. 9 of diamonds. He bets here, kind of as expected. So I think he's not only betting all of these pairs, but he's probably also betting these draws and probably ace high hands. Could be even more. So I think we've got all of those as well. So I think he's betting all of those, and yeah, we could raise, but he's only ever going to call with, big hands. I think if we raise, he's only going to call with a 2. Maybe the ace king, maybe king queen. I even think 9's just going to fold. And then it's going to be hard to get that ace king, king queen to fold to a river bet. So I don't like a raise at all. Don't like the raise at all for us. But if he bets like he did, whoops, let's get this. We would call with full house. I think we would call with all of those. I think we would call with a 9. I think we could be justified in folding these smaller pairs. We're definitely calling. So we're looking at like 51% we're calling, because if you remember, we looked at him. He is capable of floating 50% turn. Smaller pro bet at 25%, but we saw what he did on the river. So I do like the call. 7 of diamonds. We do have the queen of diamonds, which reduces the number of combos for the flush. Villain checks now. So once he checks here, I don't think it's a full house. I don't think it's a flush. Maybe a flush. We can kind of say 50% for the flush because he's scared of it. Your good 2 pair, your top pair, pocket pair, I think basically all of those, which is somewhat weak. All right, so the question is, if we bet here, what kind of hands will fold and what kind of hands will call? If we bet, he's definitely going to be calling top pair plus. I'm not sure about these hands. Not sure about those hands. So I think if we bet here, he's calling 23% of the time. Maybe 29% of the time. So he's going to be folding 70%. That's 70% if he's calling with those. Really, the only hands that we beat that he would call would be these jacks and 10s, pair jacks, pair 10s. I don't think he's calling with any of those. So because of that, I don't think we're going to be getting much value from these pocket pairs less than the top card. So I think we're betting full house, but I think we've got showdown value with both the top pair below, so queens, jacks, 10s, as well as our middle pair. As far as our bluffing range goes, it's not going to take much for us to bluff here. So you can see if we include all of those, he's going to be we're going to have way too many hands. Even, just the weak pair. I mean, we're looking at 6 combos for the full house. We're looking at maybe Queen Jack. Maybe something like that, where it's about 1/3 bluff, 1/3 value. I think that's probably about it, is what we would bet. What do? I check behind. I'm glad. I think I should have been checking behind. The question is, I want to go back to here. I guess that was in somewhat of our checking range here. All of these. I say I kind of feel like we could be betting here. Okay. In any case, we've got that. I think we're checking those middle pairs. We did check behind. He shows down Jack 10. Was that in his range? It would be a nothing type hand, Jack 10. Yeah, we do have it. So, we could take the notes. We have it in his range. I think had he continued betting on the river, we give him credit for the king. I think we have to give him credit for the king. Checking behind, he's never going to call this. Never going to call a river bet with that hand. So we are going to make this limp first in and cut off and call ISO raise 5 big blinds with Jack 10 clubs, out of position, check, bet 50%, and then check on a king of spade to a diamond to a clubs board, 9 of diamonds, and then 7 of diamonds. All right, so I think the hand was played okay. I understand why we check. Why we check here, take advantage, because he's going to be calling a lot. And we're just going to be building a pot against a player who is capable of making that pro bet. And now we're knowing that he can make that pro bet as a bluff as well. So we could kind of take advantage of that fact. I'm not sure if he would have called this hand, called a c-bet with this hand. So we could kind of say that I think we probably won more than what is typical. So, all right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another hand.